What is going on, guys? It's Combat Muffin, and welcome to the review of the TL-50 Heavy Repeater. This blaster came along in the Death Star DLC along with the K16 Brayer Pistol. I'm going to do the review of the TL-50 first, and then we're going to do the K16 Brayer Pistol afterwards. And then, once I get enough time to play with both of them and kind of compare and contrast them, we're going to have one of our awesome comparison and contrasting videos. We have plenty more on the channel. If you'd like to check out our last one, it was between the Bespin DLC weapons, the EE4 and the X8 Night Sniper. So you should go ahead and check that out. We are going to do a very similar one of that, but with the TL-50 and the K16 Brayer Pistol. As with all reviews, I like to say that 90% of this will be fact, and I'll be sprinkling in a little bit of opinion towards the end. But if I leave out anything, if I miss anything, or if I overstate or understate anything, be sure to correct me in the comments below. I love to hear your feedback. But with that out of the way, let's get right into the review of the TL-50 Heavy Repeater. Now, like I said before, this weapon came along in the Death Star DLC, meaning that it came with a Hutt contract in order to unlock it. That Hutt contract was relatively simple. You had three main tasks. One of them was to get 20 kills as an Imperial, one of them was to win a game of Battle Station, and the last one was to get 75 kills with a Heavy Blaster. All of these are relatively simple and can be completed by simply just playing the game. 20 kills as an Imperial is just that. You need to be an Imperial, get 20 kills. Win a game of Battle Station, go for it. Just do it. Now, the only one that might be different for other people is to get 75 kills with a Heavy Blaster. Now, there's a bunch of Heavy Blasters out there that you could use. I use the DLT-19 because I love to use that weapon. It has great stability, whatever. You can use that. You can use the RT-97C. I always mix that up. Or you could use the T-21. All of them are great weapons, and you should have no trouble getting 75 kills. Once you do that, you have your hands on the TL-50 Heavy Repeater, which is awesome. The TL-50 Heavy Repeater is by far the most unique weapon that we have to date in Battlefront. Both it and the K16 Brayer Pistol both came with the secondary fire function, and I'll get into that a little bit later, which makes it very interesting. But to start off with the primary fire function, the TL-50 supports the fastest fire rate in the game. It is absolutely crazy how fast this thing fires. And of course, it would be paired with a relatively low damage stat. Fortunately, that low damage stat is not crippling to the weapon. You can definitely pump out a lot of damage in a short period of time with the TL-50. The TL-50 also supports a fairly nice range stat, which means that your damage fall off won't be that crippling. You can still pump out a fair amount of damage at longer ranges. You'll be dealing 15 damage up close and 13 damage from far away, which is not that different. Also, the cooling power of the weapon is pretty average. It's not that good, it's not that bad. You'll be able to shoot 39 shots before it overheats. And one more hidden stat is the recoil, and I think this is actually the strongest part of this weapon. You would expect for such a high rate of fire weapon to have extreme recoil that you would need to correct every now and then. However, the TL-50 has very manageable recoil, allowing for long distance encounters and short distance encounters. It is very, very manageable. So that right there was the primary fire function for the TL-50. Now let's move over into the secondary fire function. Note that with any secondary fire function weapon, whether that be the K16 Brayer Pistol or the TL-50, you will not be able to aim in, which means that you can't really zoom in, and that also means that the trait Sharpshooter becomes redundant with this weapon. Do not bother using the Sharpshooter trait. Now, the secondary function on this weapon is what takes this weapon from good to amazing. This secondary fire function allows for so much creativity on the battlefield from long to short ranges. It's just absolute fun to go with this secondary fire function. Now, the secondary fire is a little bit different than it is with the K16 Brayer Pistol. You charge up the TL-50 Heavy Repeater, and once it's reached its max charge, it will shoot out this ball of energy. It's blue, it's badass, it does a lot of damage. Now, the thing about the trajectory of this secondary fire is that it has an arc, so you're going to have to actually calculate how and where it's going to land given the certain amount of distance that you shoot it from. It's somewhat similar to the cycler rifle before they really bumped up how it had bullet drop. It's very similar to that. There's a lot of pros and cons to using this secondary fire. A con is that it takes time to charge up. Another con is that there will be a certain distance where no matter how high you arc your weapon up before you fire, it will just not reach its target, and that it will just not be able to do your damage. Some pros are, however, is that it makes it capable of a one shot at any range, it has 0 damage fall off, and it has splash damage. So there is even a possibility of killing 2 or 3 opponents with this secondary fire, which makes it pretty awesome. Note that once you use this secondary fire function, the gun will automatically overheat, meaning that you will have to use a cooling flush or just wait the given amount of time to get back in action. This secondary fire function is awesome. I've noticed a lot of creativity that you can do in the battlefield. What you used to be able to do with the bowcaster, having to do with jump casting, where you use a jump pack to get in the air and then you shoot down at your opponents, and you can kind of use it with the disruptor rifle. You can also use it with the pulse cannon to a degree. You can actually do with the TL-50 and the secondary fire function. You can jump in the air, charge up your TL-50, and then bam, you can shoot that ball of energy down at the opponents on the ground. And you can actually score a ton of kills with that. This weapon is awesome. Now for that sprinkle of opinion I talked about at the beginning of the video, I love this weapon, and I would be surprised if a nerf did not come in the future, because this weapon is able to perform at all ranges, at all situations. You can use that secondary fire, you can use the primary fire at short ranges, you can deal a lot of damage, you can do splash damage, you can do focus fire damage, you have a high rate of fire, high range. It's just, the pros of this weapon just keep on going and going and going. It is so versatile. I used to think that the RT97C was the most versatile weapon, but this is just by far is so versatile. You can use it everywhere. It's just awesome. And that really just has to do with the performance of the weapon. In general, it's just a lot of fun to use. You can just spray at opponents, you can use that secondary fire. There's so much you can do with this weapon. It's a lot of fun. And how can you not like the sound of that primary fire function? It just sounds like you're destroying your opponent with a million blasters. It's pretty awesome. With the trait changes that came with the Death Star DLC, I was pondering about what would be the best thing to use in this instance, and then I thought, because of the secondary fire, there is no aiming, so you're only hip firing, which made me thought, why don't I just use the Berserker trait so I get that buff all the time? And that's what I run with it, and it kicks ass. I'm telling you, use the Berserker trait, use the TL-50, you will destroy your opponents. Overall, in conclusion, I'd say that the TL-50 is a 9 out of 10. This blaster checks almost every single box for me. It has the rate of fire, it has the damage output, it has the range, and to a degree it has the cooling power and recoil. It's just a lot of fun, and I absolutely love it. That pretty much does it for this review. As always, like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews, and go ahead on the channel and check out our past reviews. We got plenty. We've got tons. We've got it on star cards and weapons, and we've got comparisons between star cards and weapons if you want to go ahead and check those out. On the comments below, I'd like to hear what you would rank the TL-50 0 through 10, 10 being I use it all the time, it is my go-to weapon. I would sleep with this weapon if I could. 0 being it's complete shite, I would never use it, I spit on it. That pretty much does it. My name's been Combat Muffin. I'll see you guys on the other side.